this video, I'm going to show you how to browse the web anonymously. I'm going to show you how to browse the web anonymously. I'm also going to show you how to cover your tracks. I'm going to show you how to do all that to some degree, because whether or not you have total obscurity and privacy, that's an impossible thing to know. But there are steps you can take to certainly increase your privacy and security. So I'm going to show you some of those. One of the first things that you should know about is anytime you're searching, like on any search engine, that search engine, if you're logged in, is keeping track of where you're going. So I'm logged in at Google. I've been searching at Google. I could go to Google and search for Google search history, and then that is going to bring up my search history, where here I have all kinds of metrics about what I've been doing online and when I've been doing it and what exactly I've been doing. And this is really useful to me personally. If I'm like, oh man, what was that video I saw a couple of days ago? Boom, boom, go back a couple of days, hit videos, you know, and it'll show me the videos like, okay, let me just see the videos and let's go back, you know, a couple of days, and there, that's the one I was looking for or whatever, right? And so that's how I could use that. But also, good to know, anytime you're logged into an account, your activity is being tracked. Like if I'm using Google, that's being tracked. There's also something to know, anytime you're in a browser, your browser on your local machine is keeping track of some of your activity on the internet. So here in Google Chrome, and all browsers have some similar setting, you could go to settings, and when I go to settings, it brings up this page. And if I come down here, I could show advanced settings, right? This is just like sign in on startup, open a specific page or set of pages. So I could actually set a bunch of different pages to open. And here I have a bunch of different pages. All these pages that I like to look at each day open up automatically every time I start my browser. I could change my theme, right? Change my default searching, add users. But I could come down here and do show advanced settings. And when I do show advanced settings, I start getting things like privacy. Google Chrome may use web services to improve your browsing experience. You may optionally disable these services. What that means is I might be sending information to Google, and if I click learn more, I can learn more about what web services are and things like that. Phishing, malware detection, cookies, site data, things like that. So use a web service to help resolve navigation errors, sure. Use prediction service to help complete searches. That's that auto completion thing. Yeah, that sounds great. Predict network actions to improve page load performance, fine. Enable phishing and malware protection, absolutely. I want to enable that protection. Google is on it, they're awesome. Use a web service to help resolve spelling errors. Yeah, I like that, right? So there, it's going to do spell checking for me. Automatically send usage statistics and crash reports to Google. I like Google, but I don't know if I want to send them my usage statistics and crash reports. Might as well. Send a do not track request with your browsing traffic. Enabling do not track means that a request will be included with your browsing traffic. Any effect depends on whether a website responds to the request and how the request is interpreted. For example, some websites may respond to this request by showing you ads that aren't based on other websites you visited. Many websites will still collect and use your browsing data, for example, to prove its security, to provide content, blah, 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 cancel. I'm not going to do that one. You know, but it is an interesting thing. Like, how do they know? Like, I go search for web hosting, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing web hosting ads everywhere. How do they know that stuff? Passwords and forms, like managing saved passwords and things like that. Just interestingly, what happens if I see that? So here are some saved passwords. Can I show those passwords? Is there anywhere in here? Never saved, saved. Let's see if I could show. I could actually see this password. I'm not going to show it right now. But if somebody else was to sit down on my computer and come into my settings, they could say show, and they could then see my password, right? Like, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Kind of a little bit of a hack there too, right? Now we're doing a little hacking. So if I sit down at a public computer, you know, one of the first things I might do is go to manage save computers. If I'm a hacker, click on that and see if there's anybody putting passwords in and click show, and boom, I'm garnering passwords, and now I have access to Union Bank under this person's account, and I'm transferring money, you know, maybe, if that's what you want to do. So just to be aware of, and also on the other side is you don't want to be putting in passwords and saving passwords on your browsers or public computers. So if I want to get rid of these things, I could start Xing them out. And I want that one, Pearson Higher Ed. See, even here, you're seeing my usernames. You're seeing my usernames, which is kind of scary. So I'm just going to ixnay all those, and they're gone. And these are the ones I've said never save these passwords. And you just get rid of all those too. Done. Interesting. Enable autofill to fill out web forms in a single click. So autofill will remember what you've typed in. And so this could sometimes compromise your security too if somebody sits down at your computer, because then they might start typing in one thing and see what you've already been searching for with autofill. I'm curious, manage autofill. So it's got some addresses and things like that automatically in there, and credit cards. Yeah, so you know, let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. And sure, let's get rid of that one. I'm going to be graying some things out in this video. What else do we have? Change proxy settings. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Languages, downloads, check for service certificate revocation. Yeah, that's about it. Reset browser settings. Continue running background apps when Google Chrome is closed. Use hardware acceleration when available. That's fine stuff. Something else that I want to show you in here. What is it that I wanted to show you? I wanted to show you cookies. I want to show you about cooking. So here, two things. One is I could clear browsing data. So all of that data, right, about my browsing behavior is a lot of it's being captured by my browser, and then it's also being captured by Google if I'm logged into Google or Yahoo or whatever account search engine I might be using. Whatever searches I'm doing there, if I'm logged in, they'll remember that stuff, right? So one thing I could do is I could clear my browsing data. I'm going to click Content Settings first, though, under Privacy here, Content Settings. Manage exceptions, all cookies and site data. So we already talked about cookies, right? But before we get to cookies, I'm going to just look at a few of these things. JavaScript, allow, don't allow. So if I wanted even more security, I could say no JavaScript. JavaScript is pretty essential to the web today, though. So you pretty much want to have JavaScript enabled. But if you really wanted absolute security, this is something you turn off. Handlers, not sure about that. Plugins run automatically, recommended. Images, show all images, do not show any images. So what we're going to look at now is all cookies and site data. So I click on that. And here I have different cookies that websites have written to my computer. And some of them you could see, it's like, I have no idea who 207.net is, right? And so if I wanted to, I could go here and I could say, who is 207.net? And if I go there, whoa, it takes me to Adobe, right? So Adobe has some domain where they're writing cookies to, you know, store information about what I've done on their website. And they store that on my computer. So when I come back, they can say, oh, you were here before and you're interested in this. So we're going to show you these things. And, but, you know, sometimes what could happen is that, you know, some people have concern about it. I don't really have a concern about it, but you should know that these little text files can be written by websites on your computer. They're not harmful or malicious. They can lead to some of your privacy being compromised, just in the sense of Adobe's able to look at these, right? And so next time I come to Adobe, Adobe's going to know what I was doing there last time, even if I'm not logged in, even if I don't have an account. So that's kind of what cookies are. So I could say, hey, remove all cookies, and then they're gone. All cookies and site data, manage exceptions. All right, so that's it there. Done on that. Some interesting stuff. Next thing you want to do, I saw this article recently on Gizmodo. And Gizmodo is a cool website for following tech stuff, how to erase yourself from the internet. And basically, they say just go to Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and LinkedIn, right, and MySpace if you still have a MySpace, or Yahoo, right. Go to the big websites where you have accounts and just get rid of them if you want to erase kind of what you've been doing from the internet. So I would delete my Facebook account, and deleting your Facebook account is different than like disabling your Facebook account. If you disable it, all that information is still there. If you delete it, you know, we can take care of this for you. Keep in mind that you'll not be able to reactivate your account, retrieve any of the current information. But that doesn't mean, wants me to log in. That doesn't mean they won't keep your information, even if you delete your account. I wouldn't be certain to say that they would delete your information. So do that with Twitter, do it with Google Plus, do it with MySpace, LinkedIn, whatever. MySpace has gotten kind of weird. It's gotten a little weird. Next thing that's cool to know about are proxy servers. So proxy server is like, normally this would be me browsing the web, but instead I go me to a proxy server and then I browse the web from a proxy server. So, you know, all the websites I go to, they're like, who's browsing the web? They're like, I don't know, it's some anonymous server, right? So I'm doing it kind of like through a third party. So it'd kind of be like, you know, instead of me asking a question in class because I'm afraid the teacher might think I'm an idiot or something, or I'm just afraid to ask the question, it'd be like me leaning to the person next to me and saying, hey, can you ask the teacher this for me? And then Bob or whoever's sitting next to me would be like, all right, I'll ask, or let me use a different name because that name's on the screen. Jennifer, the person sitting next to me, would be like, so what's this mean? Jennifer asked the question for me. And so the teacher now thinks Jennifer's asking the question when really it was me who's asking the question. Jennifer, in that case, would be a proxy server for me, right? And so she's keeping my identity anonymous a little bit. And so if you just go to the web and search for how to surf the web or browse web proxy server, something like that. So if you go browse web proxy server, you can find articles and things like that on how to do it. And so here's one article on how to do it. And here's another one. And here's another one. And then here's this thing, hide my ass, and donkey. There's a donkey there. And it gives you a list of free proxy servers. And so here are some proxy servers in different countries around the world. So if I wanted to browse from, you know, some other country, or some, you know, hide my browsing history, speed, connection time, Venezuela. I can't really search. Update results. There we go. Let's update the results. And so I could say, all right, I want to use a proxy server, and here this one looks good. It's fast and all that. And I have a little bit of like, okay, if I connect, is it going to do anything funny to my computer? And this is not a computer where I'm willing to screw things up. So I think I'll go with Venezuela. Bad speed, high anonymity, whatever that means, right? All right, let's give it a try. So I go into Firefox, and inside Firefox, close other tabs. Close tabs. Inside Firefox, I could go into settings. All right, so go into my settings up here in Firefox. Always kind of throws me, where did it go? Go into my options, go into advanced, go to network, choose on, configure how Firefox connects to the internet, settings, and then I could say manual proxy configuration, paste in that IP address. I could come back here and say, what was that port? And that port would be 8080. So I could type in 8080 and use this proxy server for all protocols. Great. And localhost. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go to Reddit. And maybe it's taking a little bit longer because it's going all the way to Venezuela. And then Venezuela is asking for Reddit. And then Reddit's sending something to Venezuela. And then Venezuela sending it back to me. And so now this has come up, just the text. Reddit's come up. So maybe I have it set to no pictures coming through. It's just the text. Or maybe that's how they have it set, right? But anyhow, that's kind of a proxy server. So I'm going to go back into options, advanced, network, settings, and use system proxy settings. Just get rid of that. Bam. All right, so that's using proxy computers. And that's all about covering your tracks and browsing the web anonymously. So browser clearing, you know, scrub your hard drives. We've talked about that quite a bit. Search engines know. So if I'm logged into a search engine, I'm searching there, they know what I've been searching for. Going into incognito browsing. So one more way, which you could go a little bit more incognito, is a new incognito window. And this will keep things from showing up in my browser. So that's one way you could do it a little bit more. Public location browsing is another way, right? So if I go to a public location and browse from there, you know, then it's not connected with my house. And proxy servers. So really some good tools for hiding your identity on the web. And if you really want to hide your identity, so I'm a little reluctant to share all this, but it's the tool, right? It's the tool, and how you use it's up to you. And you might need to use it for covert operations in the name of good someday. Hopefully, that's what you would use it for if you ever use it, and good being for the benefit of all humans. Um, you would get a computer that you bought at a yard sale for cash, right? Because all computers have a unique ID when you log into a network, which tells the network this is that computer. And you can see that ID if you go into command and you type in ipconfig/all. I have my MAC address in here. And so the MAC address for my computer is right there. So every device that can connect to a network has a unique identifier called a MAC address. And there's another MAC address right there. So that's the MAC address for my Ethernet, and that's unique to this computer. So if I buy a computer anonymously at a yard sale for cash, there's no way to trace this computer back to me. And then if I go to a public Wi-Fi location, and I only browse the web from public Wi-Fi location, that's another level of protection. And if when I'm browsing the web, I use a new incognito window every time, that's a third level of protection because now my browser is not tracking me. And I want to make sure I'm never logged into any account ever from that computer, right? And that's a fourth level of protection because then whatever accounts I'm logged into, they could be tracking me. And then the fifth level of protection would be to use a proxy server. And you could also set up proxy servers here in Google Chrome. Somewhere in here is the option. I saw it. Network change proxy settings, right? So I could set up a proxy server here in Google Chrome, and that would be the fifth level of protection. I think that was 5. So that's some of the things you could do to cover your tracks if you ever find yourself in a place where you need to cover your tracks. The final thing to cover your tracks would be to use encrypted communications. And you could use encrypted email. Right now, there's a little bit of a transition between old services that used to be out there and new services which are emerging because in the United States, the government was putting pressure on the current services to reveal all of the communications that they had been facilitating. And so those companies shut down, but it looks like they're restarting with new technology, which will allow revelation to be impossible. So they say. Anyhow, those are some things you can do to cover your tracks.